I'll be talking to you guys today about instant apps and contextual deep linking. How many of you guys, hands up, are familiar with instant apps? To any degree, if you've just heard of it. All right, and what about contextual deep links? A few, and just regular deep links. All right, mixed crowd, I like that. So Branch decided to, let's keep walking away from this. Branch decided to focus a little bit this year on instant apps because pretty much the main question we were asked at the last droidCon was, are you guys going to support instant apps? And we'd like to pride ourselves on being a sort of a partner-first company. We build the things people want us to build. So we've been working with Google on building this integration. It's functional. Instant apps are still kind of buggy right now. Things are being refactored and changed. If you guys went to the talk yesterday about instant apps from Jet, the speaker let the room know that she's still currently working through some bugs with Google, which made me feel a lot better about this talk because I'm also working through some bugs right now with Google. So things are there. We're getting there. I'll start off and just tell you guys about deep linking on Android. You guys probably mostly know that stuff. I'll just kind of dance my way through it. And then I'll show you guys how to do instant app contextual deep linking. And it's easier than you think. So first about me, my name's Evan. I've spoken at a few droidcons, mostly deep linked focused. I've been coding since I was a kid. Did any of you guys play Counter-Strike back in the day by any chance? Some online FPS first person shooters. I used to run cshack.com. So if you ever use any of those hacks, you're welcome. I didn't charge for any of it. If you got banned, I'm sorry. So I've been building apps since actually about 2010. I started building them professionally out in the Valley a few years ago. I got to be a senior Android engineer at a startup called ClassAl, which is like an academic startup. Did you guys ever use Blackboard when you were in college? You remember how terrible it is? Well, we tried to take them out, but it didn't work so well. Eventually, we were acquired by Branch, and I've been working on their Android product since. I started as an evangelist, traveling to these events and talking to people. And eventually, I wiggled my way into product engineering because it's just way cooler. I get to contribute to the products now instead of just talking about them. And a little bit about Branch. We're based in Palo Alto. We have sort of like an office in New York. We work offices around the world really at this point. But we're still focused in Palo Alto. We're about 3 years in business. We just raised a huge round from Andy Rubin, which is sort of like a pretty cool dream of mine because like the guy who co-founded Android is paying me to build things with Android stuff. So that's just something I have to announce to people. The company's about 130 full-time employees at this point. We're in around 20,000 apps, and we serve over 2 billion deep links a month. And a fun fact is that our API is currently being hit more than Uber's at this point. And in comparison, we are a tiny company. And this little image is just a mosaic generated of all the apps using us. That was not done by hand, don't worry. So what is Branch? We offer you short links, branded deep links for your app. We sort of do all the hosting and all the trouble for you. Are you guys familiar with app links on Android? Yeah, a little bit. So with app links, you have to host assets online. You have to have your own domain and be able to put files on it. We sort of do all of that stuff for you. And then we give you attribution about the deep linking process. Who's clicking what did they end up seeing, which pieces of your content are driving installs, what is bringing people into your app. And we allow you to sort of save money on advertising because you don't have to throw a bunch of shit against the wall and see what sticks. You can just look at your data and see what's sticking already. This is an expression, I did not make that up. I wish I had though. At this point, something that's pretty cool is we're in over 40% of the top 200 apps. Those are some of our partners there. I'm not sure how Bing uses us. I've always wondered that personally. I'll find out one day. There's lots of companies using us at this point. Have you guys ever shared a link from Airbnb, maybe to show your friend a listing? Something basic like that? Yeah, maybe. Well, you've probably shared a lot of Branch links out from the apps on your phone at this point without realizing it. So, sort of like the magic of Branch, you don't really realize you're using it, it just works. The problem with deep links, or the problem that we sort of solve, is that deep links only really work if the person you're sending a deep link to has the app that you're trying to get them to view content within. This is a huge problem for marketing people any type of campaign you want to run, you can't rely on deep links to bring people into your app because they might not already have it, and you can't really use deep links as a growth tool in that sense because it only works for the people who already have your software installed. So we're sort of working on getting rid of the wall between mobile web and native app, which is sort of like what Instant Apps is the evolution of. It's bringing people directly to a piece of content. And again, we like to pride ourselves on being the sort of missing piece. You know, we branch people from web into app, whether people are finding your links through Google searches or being emailed your links through campaigns. It's really, using branch links for campaigns is really awesome because you get to measure the success of each one of your campaigns, and then we give you granular breakdowns of like, oh, this campaign drove this many installs from iOS, and these people on iOS clicked, like X amount of people clicked it from Facebook or from Google searches or from email campaigns. So we give you an understanding of how all of your campaigns are doing because does anyone here work in marketing? So I can say this. So you know most of marketing is just made up, right? So we want to help these people keep their jobs, you know, give them a tool, say to their boss, like, look, this campaign drove installs. On average, these are just on average results. You'll find that signups start to skyrocket once you get rid of the wall between the web and your app. People are far more engaged if they're looking at a piece of content on your website and they click, you know, get the app, and then it downloads the app and opens up to that same piece of content. They're like excited to use it. Retention goes up, again, by about double. People, I don't know, I guess they're just more likely to come back and use an app when the flow of how they acquired it makes sense to them. If someone clicks a link and it takes them to the Play Store, they'll usually think that they clicked the wrong link. We actually found, and I'll get more into this later, but we found on average there's a drop-off rate of about 90% if someone clicks a link for your app and it takes them to the Play Store. So it's important to give people a sort of preview of the content, or, as I'll show you later, an instant app direct link into your content. And I'll do questions at the end, but if anything comes up during the middle of the talk that's not too annoying, feel free to ask me. So there are many deep linking standards on Android. Has anyone here ever tried to build their own deep linking mechanism or platform before? So it ends up being a lot of work just because when people are clicking your links, there's so many places they could be clicking them from, and most times they're just going to end up on the App Store because they don't have your app installed yet. So this is just a little chart of the flow of clicking a link. Another cool feature Branch has, which I can show you, is we have an enter your phone number to download the app feature. So if someone clicks a Branch link on desktop, you know, they're not on their phone, but you still want to give that person your app, we offer free functionality so they can just enter in their phone number, and they'll be texted a Branch link, which will then route them to the download page and show them the piece of content they were supposed to see from the original deep link. So your campaigns will be successful all across desktop and mobile. Yep.
On the last slide, you said that drop-off was like 90% if a link click took them to like the Play Store.
Mm-hmm.
But on this slide, you're showing that on mobile, a link click takes them to the Play Store.
Yeah, we're saying, so this is like the Branch link carries the context of it through, and then I'll show you afterwards the problem we solve with this. Yeah, it's called Deep Views. It's really cool. So one of the ways deep linking originally worked in Android, because it's actually been around since Android 1.0, is URI schemes. Did you guys ever like try typing like FB:// in Chrome and it launches Facebook on your phone? So Android used to do that back in the day. URI schemes are still supported. It's one of the many edge cases you have to look out for. You have to make sure your app supports URI scheme deep linking, which is something that Branch covers automatically for you. It's weird, the camera's pointing right in my face. There's also these things called Chrome intents. Chrome and a few other apps use these. It's basically URI schemes that allow you to handle the situation in which the person doesn't have the app, like a fallback URL, somewhere to take them so if they click a link for your app and it's not installed. And then there's Android app links, which are pretty cool. With regular deep linking URI schemes, when someone clicks a link for your app, your phone will display a chooser and it'll say like, should this be opened up with Chrome? And the person has to select Chrome. Then it goes to Chrome and then it routes natively to the application on your device. You basically don't want any friction when bringing people into your application, as little as possible. And so Google came out with app links, which is kind of like universal links on iOS. It executes an OS level redirection when you click an app link. So there's no dialog chooser. This is all in Android's documentation if you guys want to read up on app links. But there's no more chooser. An OS level redirect brings people into your app faster. It's just instantaneous. Limitations are it's not cross-platform, requires Android 6 Plus. And I don't know if a limitation is that it mimics functionality of Apple's universal links, but maybe mimicking anything Apple does is a limitation. And the logic with app links is if the app is installed, open it. Otherwise, open a web link. Yeah, thank you. Just don't tag me. So after Android 6.0, after it becomes more prevalent, app links will become more reliable. You should still, if you use Branch, you should still configure your URI URI scheme settings to support older devices. But the cool thing about branch links is that you can configure them to support URI schemes and app links, and depending on the device the person clicks on, it'll function as an app link on Android 6.0 Plus, and it'll function as a regular URI scheme deep link on older versions of Android. We like to sort of pride ourselves on being a cross-platform solution that handles all devices and situations. Our CEO claims that we handle about 6,000 different edge cases, but I haven't seen the math, so I just believe him. But we handle lots of different edge cases. And these are all things that if you build your own deep linking solution or platform that you'd have to support. Of course, the juggling act. All of these popular social platforms handle deep links differently. And so before I transferred into product engineering on Branch, when I wasn't doing Android evangelism, I was at the office doing integration engineering. And what I learned is that building a deep linking platform to handle all of these social media outlets is just a nightmare. It's just like a lot of engineering at Branch is just us doing upkeep. I'll get like an email at 9 a.m. and the person says, my links on Twitter are all going to my website now. They're no longer launching the app. And we'll find out that Twitter just like changed the way that they maybe form intents or launch applications, and then we have to dig in and fix it. So our juggling act at Branch is basically just making sure that things continue to work in addition to supporting new things like instant apps. And it's incredibly fragmented. I invite you to build one. I built my own little deep linking solution before joining Branch, which was part of the appealing factor to me when I interviewed there, because I was like, thank goodness, like there's so much stuff in Android you should never have to build. Like for example, I'm sure you guys have dealt with, well, these days there's like Picasso and Glide, but for those of you who developed back in the day, you'd have to write your own image loading library. Just like things like that are the worst. And my colleague who knows things about iOS added this slide. Deep linking on iOS is even more complicated. They've deprecated URI schemes. Universal links are a nightmare to configure. I don't know if anyone here has configured them before. A lot of the tickets we get at Branch are about people's universal links not working on iOS. We pride ourselves on making this process as easy as we possibly can, given the limitations that are forced upon us. So now I'd like to talk to you guys about the cooler part of this talk, which is our instant app integration. We found, so I was telling you earlier about the 90% drop-off rate when taking people directly to the Play Store. We found that this was obviously a huge issue, as we pride ourselves on being a growth platform and we don't want you to have 90% drop-off conversion rates. So eventually we came up with something called deep views. And a deep view is kind of the precursor to instant apps. And the truth is, if Branch were Google, we would have already built instant apps. But we are not Google, so we built the next best thing we could, which is a deep view. And these are just automatically generated mobile websites. You do not have to host any of this content yourself, and all of the content you're seeing in that screen is being rendered from the contents of the link. So like this is an OG image URL, OG title, OG description, and the OG tags are open graph tags, what social media platforms use to parse information from your links. So these links all follow standards, so if you posted this link on Facebook, the same content would be rendered. The cool thing about deep views is that you're basically explaining to your user exactly what's going on. we found that by showing people the flow that they're experiencing, like instead of taking them directly to the Play Store, they're confused, they don't know why a link took them there. We take them to the mobile website, and it's like, oh, here's this cool song, click here to get it. And then they get routed to the Play Store, and the information from this quote-unquote deep view gets routed to the Play Store and then gets routed to the application. So when the person opens up the application after seeing this deep view, this hard chill sound pack will start playing immediately. Although I don't know how hard and chill belong together in a sentence. But deep views have been pretty successful. We've been excited about them. A lot of people use them, and we're sort of viewing instant apps as a really cool native evolution of deep views. So yes, Google's taken mobile websites a step further, and you now have instant apps, which basically behave exactly like a mobile website, except not at all, because you get native functionality, which is far more powerful. They're also much faster. Everyone is on Reddit with ADHD these days. They don't want to wait more than 2 seconds for something to load, and I'm not even joking. We found that over half of mobile users were abandoning any website that took more than 3 seconds to load. So we feel like instant apps really help with this conversion process, and you can sort of leverage them to make people feel less annoyed about obtaining your product. So just make sure people get into it quickly. And we worked with Ticketmaster during the instant app alpha/beta. They brought us in, and then we worked directly with Google to give them an instant app integration, and they're pretty excited about it. And now this guy's saying you definitely don't need a specific separate team to implement instant apps. You don't need a team, but you do need a very patient, smart person. I'll say that much. There are a lot of gotchas right now. Is anyone developing an instant app right now, by any chance? Have you guys checked it out? It's there's not as much on Stack Overflow because it's new. You have to actually solve problems yourself, which no engineer wants to do. So things can take a bit longer. And I can discuss some of the gotchas later on in this, or you can just Google it and just cry all night. So instant apps, the evolution. So now you get to show people a fraction of your app before they install the full application. This is a link from Slack that I sent myself, and clicking it downloaded and launched our instant app brancher on my Pixel, and then it rendered the content from the link. So that droidCon 2017 was embedded within this link. So this is just to show you an example of the fact that you can use branch links to route people to specific pieces of content, whether it's in your instant app or in your full app. To them, it's all the same link as it is to you. And also, a cool thing about deep views is that instant apps are not available in older versions of Android. I believe below 7, they're not available. I think it's just 7 and 8. And I've even observed differences between 7 and 8 when building instant apps, which I'm still working with Google on. But the cool thing about deep views is just that if someone on 6 and below clicks one of your links, whereas on 7 it would take them to an instant app, on 6 you can take them to a deep view. So you can sort of handle all possible edge cases with branch, or at least 6,000 of them. So here are some of the benefits of instant apps if you guys haven't pieced it together into your head. There's just exceptionally reduced friction. You don't want any friction when people use your app. I had a woman come up to our booth yesterday, and she said that her conversion rates for new users went from 77% to 99% when using branch links, because people were seeing the first piece of content they wanted to see. Ooh, it's me reminding myself to work. That's also, I check our GitHub repo every day, so if you guys ever have issues with our SDK, just post on our repo and I'll get back to you pretty quickly. Otherwise I get in trouble. And like I was saying before, direct to Play Store redirects without context can lead to drop-offs. So you no longer have to worry about that friction with instant apps. No more immediate Play Store reveal. You get immediate native functionality. It's limited. There are not as many, you don't have access to as many permissions, but you have more than enough to build a cool application. You can entice your base. So one cool thing about instant apps is just using it to sell things. So if you were like Zappos, You could put like the most popular item in your Instant App of the day. So anyone who goes into your Instant App, you can like sort of push a product onto them. It's just a new creative way to run campaigns and to really spotlight specific pieces of content. And you could even do it intelligently and derive it based off the person's interests or something of that sort. And also I wrote here, you can subvert the rightfully paranoid Android owner, because we all hate installing apps. I do. You have to go back and uninstall it. You don't really know what it's doing in the background. The cool thing about Instant Apps is that all the code that the Play Store loads onto your device is removed once you're done using the Instant App. So you can play with Instant Apps all day. Most of it's removed. Google says it's removed, but there's still some stuff that's cached. But you can basically play with Instant Apps all day and not worry about filling up your phone. They're also restricted to being 4 megabytes, which is another cool thing that was mentioned in Jet's talk yesterday. Although I've never run out of space on any of my devices, so I don't know how you guys are using your Androids. A cool thing about using Branch with Instant Apps is passing context. So we give you the full view, like the full funnel view of your users now. We used to tell you what happened when the person went from link click to full app. Now we can tell you what happened from link click to Instant App to full app. And we carry context through the entire process. And so you can see where your users are dropping off. You can see which pieces of content in your Instant App are driving full app downloads and installs. Again, we're giving you a granular understanding of how you're gaining users. And now that granularity, that scope, that's just gotten more refined. And as I mentioned before, you can fall back to a deep view if the OS doesn't support it. And this just helps you understand what's bringing people into your app. And it comes at no cost. All the stuff I'm showing you guys today, this is all open source and free to use. So it shouldn't be too hard to convince your boss. And now I'll tell you guys how it works. Did any of you guys attend the Jet talk yesterday on building an Instant App? We got 1, 2? Okay, not bad. 3. You guys are just shy. There's more than 3. 4? Okay, I knew it. Do you guys remember at the end of the talk she was discussing the show install prompt call? So that call, Google built so that you can use it to pass a string from your Instant App to your full app. And so when you first load into an Instant App, we use probabilistic matching to determine who you are. So basically metrics about your device, your browser, your IP address, and things like that, which is pretty accurate. I can't give the exact accuracy on it, because if I knew when it failed, it wouldn't fail. So it's kind of like tricky. Branch will automatically pass the link data from your Instant App to your full app through the show install prompt function. I sort of wrote our own version of the show install prompt call within the Branch SDK, which you can call, so branch.showInstallPrompt, and then you just give it the activity you're currently using, and then the SDK in the background automatically concatenates all of the link data from the initial app open to the string that's being passed to the full app. So all the link data that was loaded in, like the droidCon 2017, gets passed into the full app via that method. And I assume now that I've explained that's how it works, Firebase will offer the same functionality in the coming months. When the branch backend gets hit with this link data, with the link, we'll pass back a JSON object with all the link data. There are different scenarios. You can pass straight up JSON data, so the actual link properties, or you could pass like a link and then retrieve the properties from that link. And then the magic of this is that once all that data gets passed on your full app, you get to render contextual content that's sort of derived from the initial link that was initially rendered in the Instant App. And this is my explanation of the show install prompt. You can check it out in branch.java. I guess that's not specific enough. If you go to our GitHub and then look up Android, you'll see the SDK, and then in branch.java, you guys can see the code that we wrote for the show install prompt call that passes data over. And this is how we do conversion tracking. There's another function in Branch, the isInstantApp function, which is just like Google's, which we use to send up in the open call. So when someone opens up your Instant App, it registers an open event in your Branch dashboard, and you can actually see that your Instant App was just opened. So we also attach events to your Instant App. We give you metrics about how people are using it. And that also helps you tie together whether or not the user went from your Instant App to your full app. And here's an example of the flow. So you click the link from Slack over here. The app gets downloaded. It opens up and shows you your little monster. You click install full app. Now sometimes I've seen this small dialog and sometimes I've seen the full screen view of the Play Store. This screenshot was the full screen view of the Play Store. You go there and install the full app, and then your full app opens up and the same droidCon monster is displayed. So it's just like the full funnel with the correct context rendered from beginning to end. And I just assume that if we were making people happy by giving them the correct context from link to full app, we'll make them extremely happy with the correct context from link to instant app to full app. I hope. We worked directly with Ticketmaster during the instant app beta to build an integration with Branch, and it's pretty rad, which is something I say once a year. Ticketmaster is using Branch links, and the example is that in their SMS client, they're sent a Branch link, they click it, they're taken to the instant app, and they're actually able to buy a seat without ever having to download the full app or install anything. There's absolutely no friction here. It's tap, you're in, you buy, you're done. So with frictionless experiences like this, you can only imagine how far your company will go. Ticketmaster is an example of a Branch integration. I'm not sure, so instant apps are being refactored and changed a bit right now. I'm not sure which integrations are live right now, but we also worked with Vimeo to build an integration, so you could click a Vimeo link from the web, be taken directly to a native player, and then when you get their full app, this same video will start playing. So another frictionless experience that the people using the app have no idea how it works. It's pretty simple. And then on our GitHub, I'm actually refactoring this right now. I have a few instant apps I'm putting on our GitHub. There's an app called Branch Monster Factory, which you can play with, that will let you understand how Branch and instant apps work together. And then at the bottom, I ask your app, because you can drop it into your app as well. It's all open source and free to use. And when you're working on these projects, if you guys have any questions, you can always email integrations@branch.io, and it will eventually be escalated to me. Sarcasm, it's so true, it always happens. And now I want to tell you guys about some lessons I learned from instant apps, just so you don't hit your head against the wall too much. The Play Store does not always return the latest version of your instant app. This is something that really caught me up during testing. I didn't have like a text view displaying the version of my instant app. I just assumed that like regular apps, that when I would update my app, that the next day this Play Store would return the newest version of my instant app. This is not the case. I went back and forth with Google a few times until eventually my inquiry was sent to the instant app team, and their response was that is the expected behavior. So if you upload like version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of an instant app and then the next day test it, you might be getting version 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 1. The only way to ensure that you're always getting the latest build that you uploaded is to manually go into Google settings, go to instant app, and then toggle instant apps on or off and then back on. So don't waste a week like I did. That was a huge one. I might just be an idiot, but that one slowed me down a bit. Another one, there's a very generalized error when uploading your instant app to the Play Store, and it will say ensure that the targeting of your instant app APKs matches the targeting of your APKs. It's a bit general. My first initial thought was to make sure that I was targeting the same SDK version, and I was. The issue ended up being that my full app had an activity set to portrait, and I was reading the network state to detect when Wi-Fi was gained and lost. And I had to actually say that those features, as required, were set to false, and then I was able to upload my instant app. If you guys see this general error, ensure the targeting of your instant app APKs matches. You'll see a bunch of threads online with many different solutions. This was the only one I found that worked for me, which is setting the permissions I was using to being required as false. It had nothing to do with the targeting versions. So that was another headache. Luckily, Android has an awesome community, as you guys probably know, and people post solutions to these things on GitHub all day. And I'm sure if you delve into instant apps, you yourself will be posting solutions to things on GitHub all day, or maybe just communicating with Google. Another lesson I learned, and I'm actually currently working on this with Google, I have not resolved it yet, is that Android 7 and Android 8, from my tests, seem to represent different routing behaviors. I was able to get Google support to reproduce the bug, and they're looking into it right now. But basically, I have things working correctly on Android 8.0, but on 7.0, sometimes I get routed to the Play Store instead of to the Instant app. So they said this time it's a bug, so I'm hoping that they're right. And also, I just left this at the end. These are the permission limitations for Instant apps. So if your full app does lots of fancy things, think about this beforehand, because you don't want to spend a bunch of time planning out or designing an Instant app which you will not be able to use because the permissions are very limited. I mean, you can still do tons of things. You can get the person's location, so you can really do anything. But there are some limitations. And that's just deep linking with Instant apps made easy. It takes I would say about 15 minutes to integrate branch into an Instant app, and then maybe like another 10 or 15 minutes to integrate branch into your full app and have them wired together so that they're passing context between the two of them. Just know that during your testing, you should give the Play Store about 24 hours when making changes to your full app. And if you make changes to your Instant app, you should always make sure to toggle the Instant app setting and Google settings on and off before you do testing. And it can kind of elongate the process, because you'll have to wait, a day for this and a day for that, and change the setting and change that setting. So before you tell your boss, I can do this in a day, just understand that you're fighting against the Play Store as you try to build your integration. And that's all I have for today. If you guys have any questions, I can hear them now.
If Google has a call to pass a string into the Instant app already, why do you need to do the probabilistic matching inside the Instant app?
The initial so the function they have is to pass a string from Instant app to full app.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. It's a good question. Thank you. After this, I'll be running a short lab in another room. I don't know which room, where I'll just be showing people how to integrate branch and set up deep linking into their app. If you'd like to understand how to set it up, whether in your current app or a Hello World app, the process is about 10 minutes, and I'll be there hanging out and helping people out. Thank you guys so much for attending.